Hi there, class. It's Paula Bull again. Welcome to week 4. So when you complete this week, you got to figure you're halfway through another course. Yay! Anyway, as we are struggling through Bright Space together, I appreciate your patience. Um, First thing I want to do is go over what you will be doing this week. So the first thing I want you to do this week is to go to content under module 4. And basically you've got critical appraisal parts 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 will be more important than 3. And I think I gave you this last week, but I know that sometimes required reading doesn't get done. These articles by Feinhard, Fine Out and Overholt and Melnick and Stillwell and Williamson are really good. They provide a lot more information about evidence-based practice than our textbook does. And one of my first little tips for this week is remember, evidence-based practice is not the same as doing research. And you may say, well, what's the difference? Well, when you do research, you are finding information and testing a theory that or an idea that you may or may not have, such as, gee, I wonder if hydrogen peroxide would be good on wounds. And so you get all these people to sign up, all over these wound clinics all over the United States, and you get certain amount of patients with let's say stage 2, stage 3 would be better, and you put them randomly into the control group versus the group that's going to get the peroxide, and that's the intervention group, the group with the treatment. And you proceed to give the people that care for these wounds instructions like for the next 8 weeks to pour peroxide in the wounds and to measure different indicators of whether the wound's getting better or not. So you do all of that, and that is when you're doing research. And of course you perform statistical tests on it and you write up your findings. When you are doing evidence-based practice and evidence-based research, what you're really doing is looking at what has already been researched, and you're taking these studies and trying to find the best evidence to answer your clinical question. And your clinical question is the one that you put in your PICO. And I know you're going to get tired of hearing the word PICO, but that's part of evidence-based practice. So your job in here is not to do primary research. It is to find the best evidence. And note that I am highlighting those words, best evidence. And there's a reason. Remember back in Nursing 366 when you had to do the critique of a quantitative article, and when I was teaching Nursing 366, you would have had to have done one of a qualitative article. Why did you do those critiques? Think about it. To see if the research was good research. And so I imagine, and I'm remembering this off the top of my head, you would have looked at design, you would have looked at all elements of methodology, you would have looked at sample size, you would have looked at were they assigned randomly? Was it random selection? You would have looked at were the instruments that they used validated and tested, or did they do those tests and find out for themselves? You would have looked if there was a flaw in their you would have looked at the analysis of the data. You would have looked at the data that they used. Did they use the right statistical tests? Most researchers do, because that stuff's computerized. But you would have also looked at, was their significance level, was that under that 1? Did they have a statistically significant level of outcome that could say this is the result of this study and it's not by chance? They also would have compared their samples. They would have run statistical tests, and you analyzed all of that in 366, or at least I hope you did. And then you wrote up a critique. Okay, that is not what you're going to do here, but there's a reason you did all of that in 366, and that's as you go through your articles now to help you determine what is and is not the best evidence. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So I am going to give you a bit of a narrated over PowerPoint in about a day or two this week. I'm going to create it myself, so it's going to take a little extra time, and going over just some of these key points so that you keep those in mind. So this week, your job is to read these articles, a critical appraisal 1, 2, and 3. There is a guided lecture down here. And this guided lecture is a lecture that was submitted by one of our master degree students on writing your paper. I put it this week, but it's also in next week. So if you don't get to it, and I would be surprised if you did, don't worry, because it will repeat in Module 5. It's about writing the body of your paper. But I do want you to link to this YouTube video about the levels of evidence. It's very short. It's 8 minutes, and it's from the University of Louisville. The libraries typically are the ones that do this, and it's very good about the levels of evidence. And while I have this here, I will just basically tell you again and again, you are looking for the best evidence. So when we look, right above systematic reviews would be your clinical practice guidelines, all right? The things that you looked for last week at JBI, Joanna Briggs Institute, at maybe the Cochrane, or some of the others that are out there. But a systematic review, as we have talked before, is right below the clinical practice guideline as far as the best evidence. Systematic reviews typically take 3 to 12 or somewhere in there articles, and they review them. They review them based on a system. The other portion of the square is meta-analyses, and that is when they take several studies and they take the statistical portion of that and they combine it, and they make sure that they get the same outcome from a global perspective. All right. The next thing is your randomized control trials. And I went over this last week, but it's important that you understand this. And then your cohort studies. Right under there are your case control studies, and then your case series, your case reports, editorials, expert opinions, which we don't use very often. This is a very good video. It will take 8 minutes of your time. Going back to this week and what else you have to do. You have a discussion question to do, but just because you don't have, let me get back here to content for Module 4, right here, assigned articles, I got that, and then I've got your assignments. So you have a discussion question. This could be a very misleading week for you if you think that's all you have to do. So what you should be doing this week is you should be continuing to find articles. Part of what I like about these critical appraisal articles that I have sent to you is the way it helps you organize and make sense of the studies that you're finding. Remember that your studies should be from the last 5 years. It has to be nursing research. Clinical practice guidelines do not take editorials. They do not take they do not take other things other than research into consideration for our nursing clinical practice guidelines. But anyway, if you look, I particularly, and so you're kind of out there and you're pulling these articles and you go, I don't really know what I'm doing. Well, there's several ways to organize them. I hate to tell you this, none of them are short ways. Doing this kind of work is labor intensive, and even more so than labor intensive, it is time intensive. So I would like to refer you to one of these articles. I believe it's Critical Appraisal Part 1 or Part 2. And it's Part 1. And on page 50 of the article, Critical Appraisal Part 1, the authors make out a table. This table is highly recommended. And you know, and you're going, oh, Paul, I really don't have time for that. Well, when you think about it, in this day and age, with an Excel spreadsheet, you can copy and paste. You can copy and paste the author and the year. You can look at the design method. You can look at the sample, which is part of what you're going to need. And then you can look at the major variables, and you know what those are. Those are the items that they looked at. So for example, in this education table for these articles we've been reading, they're trying to decide, is a rapid response, the use of a rapid response team versus no rapid response team. I'm going to go straight to the PICO question. How, in hospitalized adults, the population, how does a rapid response team, the intervention, compared with no rapid response team, the comparison, affect the number of cardiac arrests, that's your outcome, and unplanned admissions to the ICU, another outcome, during a 3-month period, that's your time frame. So what they're looking at when they make this table up, and again, it's on page 50 of the article part 2 of critical appraisal, they look at the variables. Now, so the variables would be the rapid response team, and then variable 1 would be, okay, and then this one they do it a little different. They also throw in hospital morbidity, but hospital morbidity, cardiac arrests, and unplanned admissions to the ICU. So if you put that, just like with abbreviations with a little key down here, it's going to make, when you get ready to write this, better. So when you pull articles, before you start printing these out, like in the olden days, which this was 10 years ago, so that's pretty olden days, but just look at the abstract, read the discussion, read the findings, read the flaws, if they self-identify flaws. But you are going to have to read most of this. I don't know that you're going to have to read, of the 10 articles that are required, you're going to have to read them to come up with the answers that you're going to need. So that's my tip for this week. Continue to search articles. And oh, I have another tip for you. Let me see, I hope I didn't lose this. Paula Martin is our research librarian at McHenry. She's very, very friendly. You do know that you can get help from the research librarian. She may be over the library now, but if you call McHenry and you ask for Holman Library and you ask for the research librarian and you say to her, I'm trying to research how peroxide in wounds is going to do. By the way, I know that it's horrible for wounds, just so you don't think, oh my God, she's really old. But anyway, and I've looked under peroxide and I've looked under wounds. This research librarian will be able to tell you, oh, have you considered looking under blah, 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 or blah, blah, blah. Also, if you find articles that we do not have full print for, she can get them to you typically in about a few days or a week now electronically. So that is the main thing that I wanted to share with you in an overview for what we're doing this week. You please, please call me, text me, phone me. I don't mind. There's only 2 of you in this class right now, and I am struggling a bit with Brightspace, and I appreciate any feedback that you can give me. As I said at the beginning of the course, I'll be easy on you, you be easy on me, okay? I won't be easy, but I'll be helpful. How's that? Have a good week. Look for my PowerPoint in a day or 2. Bye now.